Crawling back to you, and the thought of calling when you better feel like I always do. Maybe I'm.
Today will be the first day of teaching you guys how to crochet something like this. Hi, I'm Darby and I'm a full-time crochet artist. That cow I just showed you, that is what we crocheters call plushies. A lot of people get knitting and crocheting mixed up. Knitting is when you're using two needles and they're pointy and you use both of them with both hands and you knit something. Crochet is when you're using a hook similar to this, literally a hook. You use one hand and that is how you crochet. To start crocheting, you will need 4 things, and all of these things you can find at your craft store or you can find at local stores like Walmart or Target. You're going to need yarn, a crochet hook, a stitch marker, and polyfill. And if you don't know what the last 2 things are, I will explain them. Polyfill, now I get mine from Hobby Lobby, is the stuffing that you put inside of your plushie to fill the inside and to make it firm and cuddly or however you want to stuff your plushie. Now, a stitch marker, while some people use an accent color of yarn, which is just a different color than the color that you're currently using, some people use safety pins, others use stitch markers designed for crocheting or knitting. When you are crocheting with a circle, it is hard to tell where your row stops and starts, and a stitch marker tells you that. So when you put a stitch marker in a certain stitch, it tells you that you've crocheted a certain amount and you are now going on to the next round. Luckily though, today we are not crocheting in a circle, so you do not have to worry about stitch markers, and it will be much easier to learn if you learn how to crochet in a chain rather than starting with a circle. We are going to start out with a slip knot. Grab your yarn and I hold it between my pointer and my middle finger. Now twist it and take the long end of your yarn and pull it through the loop that you just made. This is now an adjustable slip knot. Now adjust that loop to the size of your hook. Using the long end of the yarn, we are going to be yarning over and pulling through the loop, creating our very first stitch. Yarn over by putting your hook under and over and grabbing the yarn with the end of your hook. Pull it through the loop that you already had on your hook. And that is your very first stitch. Again, go under and over your yarn and pull it through the loop that was previously on your hook. This is only the foundation of your project, but so far you know how to do the single crochet stitch. I only have 3 minutes to teach, and that is the end of day 1 of learning how to crochet. I hope that helped, and I will see you next time.
I've noticed a few people saying that they wanted to start crocheting but not sure where to start, so I'm going to make a very beginner-friendly video on what you can do to start to practice. I'm going to recommend a bulky 5 yarn because it's easier to work with, and specifically I'm going to recommend Loops and Threads Charisma yarn. It's 100% acrylic and very soft, and an 8mm hook. This is the hook that I started off with, my very first hook, and you could get it for a few dollars at any craft store. So let's start off with the slip knot. So an easy way to do this is to just make an X with your yarn and pull that long tail, the one attached to the yarn or the working yarn, through that circle and put it on your hook and pull that working yarn tight so it's secure around your hook. Your non-dominant hand is going to carry your yarn, and this is how I find it most comfortable, with my pinky and pointer finger under. For beginners, I started with 2 loops around my pointer finger. We're going to start off with chains, which is just when you yarn over like so and pull it through that chain or that loop, therefore making something that looks like chains. You're going to want to make sure it's not too loose and not too tight, and you're going to want to do this over and over, and I'm going to recommend that you do 21 chains. This is also another way to hold your hook. I hold mine like a pencil, but this is also a great way to hold it as well. Whatever is comfortable for you. Once you have your chain, you're going to go into that second chain from the hook. You're going to put your yarn through, yarn over, and pull up a loop, so you'll have 2 loops on your hook. Yarn over again and pull through those 2 loops, and you're going to do that over and over again down the chain. So if you have 21 chains, you're going to end up with 20 single crochets, and just do that until the very end. Once you get to that very last stitch, single crochet 1 more time and chain 1. This is not going to count as a single crochet, so you're going to go back into that very first stitch and single crochet once again, which is going to ensure a straight edge. So you're going to do that every single time you start a new row. And go down this row once again with single crochets, and you're just going to repeat that over and over again. This is a great way to practice your technique and your comfortability with the yarn and your hook, so just keep doing it over and over again, and eventually you'll have a scarf. Also a lot of practice.
Crochet for beginners. I'm using a 2.75mm hook and impeccable yarn, medium sized. Let's start with a magic ring. And then 2 chains. Into the ring, 3 triple crochet. For double crochets. One triple crochet, and that is the half of the heart. Pause here and repeat pattern. Make 2 chains and then slip stitch into the ring. Tighten the ring by pulling the tail. Now you have a small heart.
These are my ladies. This is Jill. This is my lady Amy. Little Susie. Brianna. You know why we call her Brianna, right? No. It's a long story. Shaniqua. Helga. Miss Kitty. Jeannie. I dream of, Teresa. This is Teresa right here.
Okay, so you want to learn how to crochet. You want to make this, or this, or this. But to make these, you're going to have to start here. You guys ask me a lot what I recommend to start crocheting, what supplies to get, so let's go over it. The hardest part of crocheting is learning how to hold your hook, how to have the right tension, and it's just very awkward in the beginning. So you're going to want to master the straight across back and forth stitch, and once you get that, you can start making things like this. So you're going to start by going to the yarn aisle, you're going to pick up your yarn, but you're not going to get a chunky fuzzy yarn like this because it's harder to work with. We need easy. So you're going to get a ball that looks like this. Very basic standard, what you think yarn would be. Then you can also buy a chunky one for once you move past that and get to this. So on your ball of yarn, there is going to be a little cover on it. Keep this, we need this because it's going to tell you what size hook to get. So since we're crocheting, we're going to be looking at the crochet hook and it's going to tell us what size hook we need. So this specific ball of yarn is recommending a 9mm crochet hook. Then you're going to go to the crochet hook aisle. I recommend getting the assorted pack with like a size from 5mm to 12mm because you use those a lot. And on your hook, it's going to say the size. So this one says it right here. Some of them will say them on the middle here. Pick the size hook your yarn ball recommends. And while you're in the aisle, get a darning needle that looks like this. Get the curved one, not the straight one. And get a couple of these stitch markers. And that's all you need to start. So you're going to go to YouTube, you're going to look up how to single crochet. A single crochet is a type of stitch. It's the most common one used in amigurumi. And if you want to have a great YouTube tutorial on how to make a granny square just like this with single crochets. You're going to practice getting a hang of the tension, how to hold your hook. It's very awkward at first. It's the hardest part. That's where I recommend starting. Yeah. Once you get the hang of that, you can start, you know, looking up how to read patterns, how to make amigurumi and stuff like that.
Here's how to make all the basic crochet stitches in US terms. Once you've mastered these, you can make any stitch pattern. This is for people who already have basic skills like how to chain and hold your yarn. First up is slip stitch. To start a slip stitch row, chain 1, insert your hook into the stitch, yarn over, pull your yarn through the stitch, and then pull through the loop on your hook. It's rare that you'll ever make rows of slip stitch like this. Typically, you'll use slip stitch for joining rounds together or joining sides together, but this is what 10 stitches by 10 rows of slip stitch looks like. Next is single crochet. Again, chain 1, insert your hook into the stitch, yarn over, pull through the stitch, yarn over, and pull through the 2 loops on your hook. This is typically what people learn first, so keep practicing this one until you've got it. This is what 10 stitches by 10 rows of single crochet looks like. Next is half double crochet. For this one, you'll want to chain 2 at the start of the row, yarn over, insert your hook into the stitch, yarn over, pull through the stitch, yarn over, and pull through all 3 loops on your hook. The important thing to remember here is that you want to yarn over before inserting your hook into the stitch and make sure you're pulling through all 3 loops. And here's 10 stitches by 10 rows of half double crochet. Then we have double crochet, chain 2 or 3 to get the correct height. I like to chain 2, yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over, pull through the stitch, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, and yarn over, pull through the last 2 loops. This one takes a little bit more control of your hook to make sure you're only pulling through those first 2 loops and then the last 2. And here's 10 stitches by 10 rows of double crochet. Then there's treble crochet. You'll want to chain 3. Then you need to yarn over twice before inserting your hook. Then yarn over, pull through the stitch, yarn over, pull through the first 2 loops, yarn over, pull through the next 2 loops, and yarn over and pull through the last 2 loops. I don't use this stitch very often. It does work up really quickly because the stitches are so high, but there's also a lot of gapping between the stitches. And like the double crochet, this also requires a lot of control over your hook. But here's 10 stitches by 10 rows of treble crochet. And those are all the basic stitches. Let me know if you want more beginner tutorials like this.
I was there when needed someone who wasn't getting over you. And I moved to the side.